In case you've been living in a cage for the past several weeks, they're filming a movie in Osage County and on occasion other local spots here and there. Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese and starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, is the film adaptation of David Graine's book of the same title about the Osage Reign of Terror. When Oklahoma was young, scores of Osage tribal members were killed and swindled by white criminals looking to get at their petroleum wealth. The William Hale conspiracy to kill an Osage family with guns, bombs, and poison captured the nation's attention in the 1920s and helped legitimize the FBI. All of this is going on about the same time as the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, the continuing oppression of Jim Crow laws, and the theft of land, oil, and wealth from other tribes. Oklahoma in the 1920s was an ugly place where white men had a monopoly on power and used it to steal just about anything that wasn't nailed down, killing or discarding those who got in the way. Most of the bad guys got away with it. I finished the audio version of Graine's book last week, and on a whim decided to take a second look at the first movie about the Osage murders, the 1959 Jimmy Stewart vehicle, The FBI Story. I'd seen the movie as a child and remembered it as adventurous and wholesome, if not very good. I was right on that last account. In fact, objectively, it's a pretty bad movie, poorly written and poorly acted. It toadies to FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, whose cooperation the movie producers wanted. He is portrayed as a sterling reformer beyond reproach in his dedication to American values. In one memorable scene, Hoover gives a stirring speech to a room full of agents, including Stewart, which included this gem. This bureau would be dedicated not merely to justice, but to the love of justice. I warn you now, that is the most demanding of affections. It will take all of your vigilance, patience, and loyalty. Bold words and ironic given Hoover's now established willingness to violate civil rights and abuse power. His love of justice was mostly script and certainly forgotten when other priorities were at stake, and the top priority was always J. Edgar Hoover. I recognize that it's too much to expect a warts and all portrait of Hoover from Hollywood 1959, but the level of servility to a very warty man is remarkable. It probably tells us as much about the nation and its expectations as it does Hollywood. The movie's portrayal of the Osage murders was close enough to the bone to make survivors of the murdered Osage cry when they would see it rerun on TV, Grant reports. But for no apparent reason, it toys with the details in silly ways. Pawhuska is renamed Ute City, which makes you wonder why the Osage would name their town after a tribe far to the west. Osage County becomes Wade County. Murder conspirator William Hale, a cattleman in truth, is a banker named White McCutcheon on film. Rough-hewn FBI agent Tom White becomes law school graduate Chip Hardesty. The biggest problem with the movie is that it tells the story from an almost exclusively white, thoroughly condescending perspective. The Osage barely speak. They wander through scenes as comic relief caricatures, easily duped fools who have more money than is good for them. This is, after all, the FBI story, and the Bureau is portrayed as pure heroes, incorruptible white professionals all, who get to the bottom of the Wade County crimes before moving on to battle Babyface Nelson, and then the Nazis, and then the communists. Later, the script was adapted to a comic book, and I suspect it took very little revision. The truth, as Graine's book does a decent job of showing, is more complex than that. It doesn't fit well in comic books. It's not 1959 anymore, so we can hope for a fuller, truer telling of the Osage murders from Scorsese. The real story has a lot more human emotion and ambiguity than Hoover would allow, and it deserves to be told right.